Today is day 1 of reviewing for final exams. We're going to take a look at what we did in chapter 1, where we worked on solving equations. We want to get the variable, the letter, by itself and find out what it's equal to. Let's take a look at some one-step problems, and then we'll move on to two-step and multiple-step problems. Well, looking at problem number 1, we've got that v minus 8 is equal to negative 7. So to get the v by itself, we need to do the opposite because we're crossing the equal sign. So we're going to add 8 to both sides of the equation. And when we do that, we're going to be left with v is equal to negative 7 plus 8 is 1. We can do the same thing for number 2. Now we have x divided by 19 is equal to negative 11. The opposite of dividing is to multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides by 19 times by 19. 19 over 19 is going to cancel. And so we're left with x is equal to, let's plug this into our calculator, negative 11 times 19. And that'll give us a negative 209. So x is equal to negative 209. Moving on to number 3. Now we have 20 times x is equal to 380. The opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by 20. And once again, we're going to use our calculator. 380 divided by 20 gives us an answer of x is equal to 19. For question number 4, we have a little pre-step. 17 is equal to b minus a negative 20. Anytime we've got our minus here, we always want to change it to plus first. Now my equation reads that 17 is equal to b plus 20. So if I want to move my 20 to the other side, the opposite of adding 20 is to subtract 20. 17 minus 20 is going to leave me with a negative 3 is equal to my b. Now let's take a look at some multiple step problems. Number 5 is one of those tricky problems. I can't get to the 3 in the numerator here. It's being trapped by this 3 on the bottom. So this is the one time where we have to go ahead and get rid of that 3 first by multiplying both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 reduces down to 1. And so we're just left with what's in the numerator. R minus 3 is equal to, when we multiply the 3 with the negative 7 on the right-hand side, that gives us a negative 21. Now we can get r by itself by adding 3 to both sides. And if we take negative 21 plus 3, that'll give us a negative 18. So r is equal to negative 18. Number 6 is our typical two-step problem. We always get rid of the unattached part first, and that is at negative 6. To cross the equal sign, we're going to do the opposite, which is to add 6 to both sides. 120 plus 6 will give me 126 is equal to 9x. And so then we can go ahead and divide both sides by 9. And 126 divided by 9 is 14. Looking at a couple problems that are a little bit longer. Number 7. If there were parentheses, we'd deal with those first. If there were like terms, we would deal with that second. Third step is always to get all the variables on one side. It doesn't matter which way you move it, but a lot of times we like to move the negative number. So I'm going to add 2n to the 1n on the right-hand side. That's going to leave me with 7 is equal to 3n minus 5. Now we have our two-step equation. We want to add 5 to both sides. 7 plus 5 will give me 12 is equal to 3n. Divide both sides by 3. And 12 divided by 3 will give me an answer of 4. For number 8, we've got a problem that has all our steps in it. Step number 1 is to deal with the parentheses. So we're just going to go ahead and start off, and I'm going to move it, we'll move it afterwards, n. And then we've got negative 3 times n is negative 3n. Negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12. Bring down the equal sign. And then we want to distribute the negative 6 on the other side as well. Negative 6 times n is negative 6n. Negative 6 times 6 is negative 36. Once we've distributed, step number 2 is to combine like terms. On the left-hand side, we have 1n minus 3n's. 1 minus 3 is negative 2n's. So now we have negative 2n plus 12 is equal to negative 6n minus 36. We want to now move all the n's to one side. So let's add 6n to both sides. Negative 2n plus 6n is going to give me 4n plus 12 is equal to negative 36. And now we're left with a two-step equation. We can subtract 12 from both sides. And that's going to give me 4n is equal to negative 36 minus 12 is negative 48. And I'm running out of room, so I'm going to go ahead and put them up here to the side. So I'm just going to rewrite my 4n equals negative 48 so that I can divide both sides by 4. And we get that n is equal to negative 12. All of these problems were normal problems that came out with one answer. But we also know that we can have infinitely many solutions or no solutions. Let's take a look at those two cases in number 9 and 10. For number 9, when I distribute the 2 to both the x and the 10, I'm going to leave my 2x plus 5 alone in the front. And then on the right-hand side, I'm going to get 2x plus 20. Now at this point, we would move all the x's to one side. And when we do that, we can see that our 2x's are going to cancel out. And I'm left with 5 equals 20. But 5 isn't equal to 20. So that means there's no solution. No number will make this equation work. It's impossible. On the other hand, for number 10, when I distribute the 3, we're going to end up with 6x plus 30 is equal to 6x plus 30. When the left-hand side and right-hand side look exactly the same, this is infinitely many solutions. Let's take a look at our last couple problems, where they tell us to solve for one of the variables. Look at question number 11. There's both an x and a y in my problem, and it says I want to solve for y. So if I want to solve for y, I want to get y by itself. I want to move everything else to the other side. So the first thing I'm going to do is move my unattached part to the other side, that negative 7. So let's subtract 7n from both sides. I'm sorry, negative 7x. And that gives me 2y is equal to negative 7x plus 48. And then I can divide everything by 2. And I get my y is equal to negative 7 halves x plus 24. And so it's solve for y. What if there's an x and a y in a problem, but it says solve for x? So if I want to solve for x, that means I want to get the x by itself. So now I'm going to move over the y plus y plus y. And we get 5x is equal to y minus 4. Divide everything by 5. And this time, x is equal to 1/5 y minus 4/5. Most of these problems you'll be asking to solve for y, but every once in a while they'll throw in one like this where it says solve for x instead. We're almost at the end. We're looking at our last two problems that have absolute value bars. We know that when we're solving with absolute value bars, we must write two equations. We know that the first is the same as the original without my bars. b over 10 equals 3, or b over 10 equals negative 3. We always give a negative to the other side for our second equation. If I want to solve this and I have b divided by 10, then I'm going to multiply both sides by 10 to get my b alone. And my first answer is that b is equal to 30, or I'm going to multiply both sides by 10 in the second equation, and negative 3 times 10 gives me negative 30. So my two answers that make this problem work are both 30 or negative 30. For 14, I have to get my absolute value bars alone first. So we have a little pre-step, and what we want to do is we want to move this 2 over. So let's add 2 to both sides so that we have it in the right format. P minus 4 is equal to 4. Now we can set up our two equations. P minus 4 equals 4, or P minus 4 equals negative 4. To solve, we're going to add 4 to both sides, and I get P is equal to 8. Add 4 to both sides, or P is equal to 0. So that's our review for Chapter 1. Now what you're going to do is you're going to practice the same type of problems on the back side of the worksheet, and then we'll take a look at the answers to these on Wednesday.